I think my real interest, if I traced it back, was curiosity about the physical world, which is what physics is.
One might imagine, at least, that one's talking about nature when one's talking about the character of physical laws. But I don't want to talk about nature, but rather how we stand relative to nature now. I want to tell you what we think we know, and what there is to guess, and how one goes about guessing.
This is the piece of the equation which describes how the Higgs field acquires its value.
So welcome to our very special physics matter colloquium number 42. So we recall that this live event is organized by the Forum of International Physics, the FIP, which is a voluntary association of the APS members interested in advancing the knowledge of physics and its diffusion. So our live open access scientific expedition, so they are fostering cooperation and they're transcending the frontiers of knowledge for and by developing community. So our website gather currently 41 different recording and material of each of the different presentation. And last month, so we had the honor to interact with Professor Amal Karti, who is the chief of the basic science section at the UNESCO. So her presentation has really enabled a vibrant discussion with the audience, and there was numerous proposals as well to support the new decade of science for sustainable development, thanks to that very event. But today, actually, it's a special colloquium because as finalists, so my colleagues, Stéphane Kenmoe and myself, so we will have the opportunity to present more personal projects as well, supporting the digital world. So to introduce the panel list, so with my colleague from the FIP, and we have, so first with Andrea Lossi, the scientific director of the SESAMI, and we have with us as well, so Alan Hurd, so from Los Alamos, from also the former FIP, so chair. And we apologize first for the third speaker that was supposed to attend also. She had to go for a funeral, so unfortunately, so she will not be presenting. So Raissa Malu will not be presented, but she gives the regards and will convey some of the information that she wanted to share with you. So then I will have to introduce myself. So as the speaker, so I would say that I was born in Savoie. I think it's important. So in France, and I've been studying in Grenoble, Belfort. So before finishing my diplôme d'ingénieur at CERN, so in '96. So there, then I left Chicago in '99, so working at Fermilab and completing my PhD on the Northwestern University on phenomenological study of superfluid helium. And till 2011, so I've been working on the LHC and high energy physics before switching to applied physics. So while joining the ESS, the European Spallation Source. So I have there led the development of the Code LINAC accelerator and now coordinate the in-kind contribution for the research infrastructure. And I'm the past chair of the Forum of International Physics and the new chair also at the IUPAP of the Accelerator Science Working Group. So I'm co-founder as well of the African School of Fundamental Physics and Application. And I initiated MOOCs that we will discuss today for the Nordic Particle Accelerator Project and the one called Accelerated Teaching. And my colleague here, so Stéphane Kenmoe, so he graduated with a PhD in physics from Max Planck Institute for Sustainable Material. So he's now a researcher at the University of Darve in Essen in Germany on a catalytic system. So he's also engaged in a lot of activities, so practitioner in communication via diverse formats from science writing to digital mass communication and awareness campaign. So he had been the editor-in-chief of the African Physics newsletter, and also now, so he's the editor-in-chief of the FIP newsletter. So he has produced the movie series Science in the City, so Science dans la Cité, so in Cameroon, which is also where and how I met him. So thanks to this publication as well on the African School in 2021. So that's the short introduction. So what we'll do is that you have the question and answer at the bottom where you can prepare your question, and we will answer all of those so at the end of this presentation. So then what I will do will be to share my own screen. And I can start. Voilà, speaking about this forum to accelerate a global digital world. So you have noticed that this is the colloquium number 42. So I wanted to make a little play as well on that, because I guess that a lot of you being Anglo-Saxon would know from the BBC this famous series, The Hitchhiker of the Galaxy, the Hitchhiker Guide of the galaxy, which is the answer for everything, 42. So we will not find all the answer there, but we will try to convey that some of the answer are thanks to the digital world. So what I wanted first to share is the fact that we will go and look at how we apply this digital world to knowledge transfer. So to try to identify the different tools that we will address later on, this open access, the potential, the limit, and mainly to speak about the different case. So with a way to start all of that is really by trying to remember the context as well of this global digital world. So I like to always recall those different revolutions. So the Industrial Revolution that happened, followed by this information revolution, which over those years had given us a lot of understanding of this economical added value. So if you think about all what basic science had provided us, it's really this basic science that are giving possibility for the different technology to be inspiring the different business, so that in the organization, we can have on our daily life the possibility to use this science. So information economy is essential, and this is what we will focus on today, speaking about how from the solid state. So if you look at after the Second World War, there was a lot of development that get possibility to best understand with those transistors, for instance, and all those applications, how to develop the World Wide Web, all those operating systems that are the revolution nowadays, and how all those media that we're using now, so with those different portals, give us this economy and this entrepreneurship that we are using. So this is from the point of view of the ESS now, because I switched to applied physics. So the idea of why we need this, why we have this revolution, which is more molecular one, which is based on all those different nanotechnology, all those biotechnology, the cognitive system as well, and the material. So, and I like to always refer thinking about this evolution within those revolution, at how this ecosystem interplay between the different research infrastructure, the university, so this knowledge transfer, so you need hardware to be able to operate, but you need the knowledge as well of the professor to be able to exchange this knowledge, and the industry who is getting the benefits as well from that. So this is really how this ecosystem has to be applied. For the case of the ESS, so we applied it to material and life science. But if you think about life, about fundamental physics, so that would be something similar. For instance, for the case of CERN or Fermilab, where I've been working, and the different university and industry gaining the spin-off from those developments. So looking at the digital tools, so it's really this information communication technology, so the ICT and the World Wide Web, because this is this revolution that really put in our life this huge difference in terms of how to appreciate everything. So now, and especially with the COVID, I think it was like a time when we have experienced a lot of change in our daily life. So how does society benefit from this digital world? There is not a complicated answer, even if it's not only 42. So meaning that online courses give now the possibility to be much smarter, or at least we have less excuse not to be. We have those online conferences as well that give us the possibility without traveling to attend the subject presented that we like. It's also better for the environment, I would say, because we don't have to travel all the time. And then there's digital libraries that a lot of the different institutions and organizations have set up, which are now open access for most of them, like some of the journal and the newsletter. And we had also last month, so the possibility to best understand that as well, thanks to Professor Kasi from UNESCO showing and seeing how important this open access is. So there are also a lot of virtual labs now that give possibility to simulate, but as well, for instance, remote handling for light source or possibility to have distance operation and those learning applications. So if we think about those different digital tools, so that those that we wanted to look at. So I was mentioning about the Hitchhiker Guide of the Universe. So again, I discovered this by chance. So it's don't panic because we know the answer. So 42. So if we look at the physics, this is the APS, so the American Physical Society, but physics in general, physics in the world, physics, thanks to high energy physics. So I want to report there the fact that we had the World Wide Web, which was invented from and thanks to CERN in so the late 90s and beginning of late 80s, sorry, beginning of the 90s, thanks to Professor Robert Caillot, who was the co-inventor together with, as you know, Tim Berners-Lee. So this is more than 30 years ago. That was in 2019. And I wanted to point there at some of the article, but mainly as well at the recording that was taken in 2019, where you would really feel the importance about what it meant for them when they started it with the key player of this World Wide Web, and how as well the important sentence that I kept as well from Robert Caillot mentioning, and you can find it later, so at the end when they wanted to have an understanding on one sentence, what would be the next generation message to get from how to use the World Wide Web. His message was really to find a way to use it for the goods of the planet.
Christine, sorry to interrupt, but I don't see your slides. I don't know if I'm the only one. It's like it's not moving.
You should see.
It's working fine from my side.
Also for me.
Okay.
Then it's fine. Then it's my problem.
Okay, so thank you. But this is important to check. Thank you.
Okay.
Very good, very good. So World Wide Web, because this is this ICT, technology can be appreciated only if it works. So, and that's the point. So we really have, I think, a great breakthrough thanks to this revolution. So industrial revolution, but information revolution. And this is completely shaping the future, our daily life, as we know. And as mentioned, so if we can use it for those sustainable development, this is the best. So I have to admit as well that I was very lucky because in 98, when I was still at CERN, so I had the chance with Physiques Sans Frontières, so that was the earlier version of it, so not from ICTP now, but to organize as well a week with Robert Caillot, whom we invited in Sarajevo, to show how we can use the World Wide Web as a windows on science and technology. So imagine there we were in 98. So that was really like the first time that I've seen the at, actually, the sign even. So a funny little anecdote. But the model and the access. So there, I just take the CERN as a model. Again, there are many other institutions, but I wanted to check and to share with you some of those access to digital library, because nowadays, indeed, so we have a lot of possibility to access to all the different journals. So now it is free also for, I mean, in Europe and in America, coming with the possibility to have full access to those important journals that shape our research. But as well, you can see there, for instance, already in 2016, we had a presentation from Jan Wiegand from CERN, who was explaining how CERN Digital Library was operating. And you can see as well, so from CERN, how they are organizing everything in an attractive way. So again, it's only an example. I didn't want it to be too biased with CERN, but ICTP has a lot of information as well, same way. So thanks to this open communication, and a lot of our institute had. Of course, always with some limit, and we can come back to that if needed. So the case of CERN as well is a compelling one, because they are celebrating 70th birthday, their 70th birthday. So we had at the APS, so the opportunity as well to report and relive as well the different events that they had already organized this year, so 70 years. We have ICTP 60 years, so it's really a birthday, a big year, we could say. So if you go to any of those little links, you see when you have the file, you will have all those movies and possibility to learn more. So again, knowledge transfer, this is what we focus on. And they were, for instance, last week, so the third different event, where they were showing, so this kind of a virtuous cycle around and about this knowledge and innovation. So spin-off, thanks to those organizations. So there are huge potential, as you can imagine, as we described, but of course there are also limits, and this is normal in the life. Nothing is always shining. So we can really identify some of them that depends on the infrastructure. If we look at the developing community, in that case, this is where the inequality as well will lay. So the internet as well, looking at the bandwidth. So it's quite often one of the challenge and the limitation to have a good internet, and to have for the infrastructure as well stability. If you think about those the load shedding, for instance, in a lot of countries in Africa, that prevent as well a good use of equipment, and a good use for the evolution, meaning the revolution, like even the industrial revolution, you would think. So how to defeat those limits? So digital is an answer to many things, but it has those limits. So this literacy gaps as well, that will be depending on so the educator, the student, but it's always a question of education. So the cybersecurity threat are also from the data security bringing a lot of concern, more and more, of course. We heard about a lot of cases of organizations that had to be more or less shut down, or at least to have huge downtime because of this cybersecurity. So now we have to reinforce any way to connect as well and have those aspects. And this misinformation. So this is the problem, the fake news, and how we need all together as well to prevent this to happen, so that we can keep the benefits and the potential of all of that. So I want to recall in December, so this presentation from Professor George Ellis from South Africa, who was describing this complexity as well, and in the context of the sustainable development. So this is what we would like this year as well, to get a bit more hint as well. And looking at how this complexity appeared, we had invited in January, so different experts to discuss around that topic, including Professor Sokarsi, who were then last month doing this full description on the different topics that UNESCO is coordinating, but UNESCO also for calling for proper proactivity of the different people on the planet to connect and to be with them, helping them for this coordination. So you can find back all the different slides, and we had a nice summary by Professor Barbara, who was explaining in the youngest generation as well how all of that can be foreseen. So I want to recall as well from the IUPAP a lot of the work that we will and that we have already started to develop using accelerator as well as a solution. So looking the outreach and trying to make sure that we are preventing as well this misinformation, but also to try to bring more knowledge and transferring, thanks to outreach, an understanding on what the benefits for the society are. So yeah, indeed, I call as well this international panel on information environment, whom are worldwide quite impressive, because they are gathering more than 250 different scientists in the world. And I really invite you as well to check on their activities. So this inequality can be supported. Of course, it's the responsibility of everyone and any organization, like in the case of the APS. So thanks to the international engagement, so this forum has been giving possibility for providing some possibility to register to the APS for no fee. So how to engage in each of those regions, this is what you can discover if you go to their webpage, and there are a lot of activities. Looking at the administrative one, all the different grant support that APS enable, and all those different membership as well, that can give possibility, if you send a CV, so you can really show all the information there, to get at least for 4 years this free membership, depending on those least developing country and depending on your revenue. And it's really enabling as well possibility for further communication, for further understanding of what happens in the world, but as well to be able to collaborate with a researcher in your field of expertise. So looking at the FIP, so it's I think I don't need to give too much information about those details, because I hope that all of you knows by now, so what we are doing. So there's distinguished student as well that give possibility to support the travel of the student to attend the March or the April meeting and share with so his pair those different information. And this physics matter that we have, and the newsletter that we will discuss more. So thanks to Stéphane. So I just want to put also for you the possibility to check and find all the slides that our different speaker had shared with us from last year and this year. So this is what I was using, and I think it's very important, again, open source, open format, to have possibility to learn what those key personality are developing and how they are shaping so the world today. So from large scale here, diplomacy, so I will not name them because there are too many, more than 50 people, but very, very VIP, and having a possibility also to transfer the knowledge to younger physicists and looking at all the different continents. So we had a wonderful possibility as well to see how this accelerator can be solving the energy crisis. And I will let you look at all of that in detail. We had a lot of important persons, including from CERN, but from everywhere. So we have as well teamed up a lot with the Forum of Physics and Society, looking at the different aspects of the nuclear world. So how this movie, for instance, Oppenheimer, had really also resonate with a lot of us. And we had a special event as well organized with the Forum of Physics and Society. So that is worth looking at. And what is interesting for this digital world, of course, is beyond those open access slides or material that I give. It's really, we had those satellite meetings. So this is really when we had possibility to hit the different spots in the world where scientists could not for sure have possibility to travel and have possibility to listen as well to their own science development and to have among them as well the possibility to identify some of the person who potentially could become active as well with the APS. So same thing for 2024, and there that was focusing on education and communication. And we had as well a connection with the European Physical Society and as well some virtual satellite meeting that took place in Marrakesh as well. And we had as well another follow-up session. So again, you can see all of that if you click on this little button, and there are much more satellite meetings. So it has been a proof of concept for now almost 3 years, and we are getting as well to the idea on of improving it. So with the APS, and it's getting there. So I will not give too much information about the newsletter and the way to communicate digitally. So thanks to this African Physics newsletter, but as well the FIP newsletter, I just identified for you as well some connection with so the work that brought me as well here, this after work that were to build up and starting this African school, which now so is led by my colleagues, but in which I think it's very, very important to keep on some momentum there. So with Stéphane, so now, so we have as well those two social media platforms, which are useful, but not maybe optimal, but please help us as well to spread the word with that. And we have a lot of energy, synergies with our colleague from lightsource.org, 20 years anniversary. The NICSEP as well, whom we had as well some speaker. The director was our speaker, or the new director even, is the speaker of in the April session. March, sorry, and then also thanks to CERN, where there was a lot of information shared. So the lamps as well between supported by the APS, so I wanted to give you here, so those different links in English to explain what particle accelerators are, but as well they have in 7 languages developed the same applied to light source. So again, lot of link, lot of reference, I pass very quickly, you have the information. Then we go to the Sesame, so having possibility for this session, so looking at physics matter, which is really to support and to find way to get synergy for so the Sesame light source. So here with the founder somehow, or the father founder, we could say, so with Erwin Chopper, who turned out 100 years old. So this is really something that makes you live long, you see, physics, so we need to provide it. So half of his life was really dedicated for developing as well CERN and a lot of expertise in physics, but the second part of his career, as he said, was more to develop the Sesame as well, and this science for peace in one sense. So you can see much more in all those different links, but as well there in terms of digital, it's really like a great honor to read all his life. So thanks to this open book, open access book that is made available so to the world. So an impressive experience. And you can imagine 100 years ago, so he was a German soldier during the Second World War. But this Sesame was organized as well thanks to Eliezer Rabinovich, whom you may have met before, and I think he's on the picture here exactly. He is from Israel, so imagine. So, and he has a lot of background as well from his family with a concentration camp. But you can see science for peace, it's possible. So we need even now to think in terms of how to activate this manner to live as well in a peaceful way. And there could be a lot to do, of course. So please be active and be engaged. I think this is the most important aspect of what scientists or what even any human being should do. Activity. So here you can see much more in terms of all the different, so this is an article, but all the different presentation before that was summarized as well in the March meeting of the APS. And you can see some of the past recording that give you much more inside. So to engage and to enable, and they are during the COVID time, so this was started by our colleague, Luisa Cifarelli, who recorded the different presentation before it became live. But what was exciting was this little trailer where you would hear the different Nobel Prize, but also our dear colleague, John Ellis, describing why physics is so important and what is make it really essential. So why physics matters. And of course, everything matters, but this is the way to engage and to collaborate, which is important. So here, just like in this slide, to show the spirit. The spirit is really a collaborative spirit, a goodwill spirit. It's not perfect. So you see, and you hear, nothing is perfect. It's human as well. So it's the possibility to try to reach out, so outreach and reach out the public, so with popular science, so those kind of expedition, we call it scientific expedition, but driven by curiosity, and to try to embrace the idea of getting and connecting people thanks to science, but sharing and connecting human. So the different topics, so I just summarized there. So what we're trying to reach indeed, so because of and thanks to the Sesame light source as the motto behind, or the leitmotif, so the member and observer in terms of country, so we have been in each of those 8 countries that are members and some of the observer one. We are looking at cases which are the scientific cases driven by those light source, so photon, but as well neutron, because as a matter of fact, applied physics with neutron is where I work now, and I want really to promote anything that we're doing here, also with neutron, because they're extremely complementary. And the outreach and education aspect, which is fundamental for everyone, together with this organization. So we had several presentations as well, showing the collaboration and the importance of the IUPAP. So this is really one of the key similar spirit as well, the IUPAP is sharing with us. And those topical colloquia that we have, so as we mentioned, the sustainable development is really something that we resonate with, and health and life science, so is also most of our topic. So more than 41 events so far, so that's what you will find. And we can reach up to 34 countries at a time, at one moment in time. And the audience vary a lot, but what is important, it's sustainable. So it's really like as well with not even the need of being an APS member, but with the possibility of getting this Zoom link that is sent to you once you know, and once you record, once you register. You can even in China have possibility to look and to watch thanks to this Zoom account. Everything is then stored in YouTube, and we have here, so you can find the playlist. So help us as well to share this information. It's just a one page that will give possibility for anyone to register and to access. So thanks to the APS, so I had the honor as well, we had the honor to meet with Professor Adayona, whom for crystallography, so it's with Alan, so we can resonate as well with that. So she is really one of the key player. So Nobel Prize of Chemistry in 2009. So for ESS and Max Force, so she gave that special presentation. So she has been so really transmitting her kind of dynamism and proactivity, and it was wonderful to meet her. She even sent us a lot of actually the original or the archive that were used to start up the Sesame as from so then Israel. She was involved in this development, and you can find in all those links the different information shared, which was also so complemented. So that was for the anniversary of Herman Winnick, who is one of also the founder of the Sesame Light Sword, but from the diaspora. And we had a wonderful panel of VIP presenting, 17 of them on that very day. And we had then from the insider as well, so Professor Sorabinovich, so who is as well the CERN Council President. advising us because he was following the Sesame being as well the president of the council there. So a lot of information that you can revisit there. So online lectures series, thanks for the APS. So there you will find as well for the African School of Physics, our online series with the idea here to have every presentation that our in-person school in the different places in Africa where during the COVID, it was not possible. So we recorded all of them. So it's a good idea as well to have knowledge and to have those professors explaining physics in a nutshell, because it's like all the theoretical physics, applied physics, and experimental physics. And for the applied one, then you can hear much more here about the case of the light source, thanks to Professor Andrew Harrison, so who explained the different methodology used, but for my colleague as well for the neutron part, so much more applied to material, to the different life science and in general, so and high energy physics as well here. So now if we look at a case study, so the case study, so that will bring us to, I mean, also arriving then in the Nordic country with the ESS and the MAX4, the connecting light source with this neutron source. So the idea to further develop, so because I was then, so I had already started, so and co-funded the African light source, and then the idea was to communicate more massively as well, how to educate people. While we see there is a huge gap in terms of knowledge, at least in the field of accelerator, it was clear that we needed to reach much more of the undergraduate to graduate level. So there was this survey that was done by the EU, and thanks to the different organizations, so CERN Accelerator School, but as well the US Accelerator School, so the US Accelerator School, so Particle Accelerator School. So a lot of different programs that needed this online, this digital course. So massively, this is what we did for and advised by already some online, some in-person classes and courses. So summer school first we had, and after those summer school, we identified the different topic. So that was in 2015. So thanks to a European grant, so we had this proof of concept, and then we developed so this 3 different MOOC with Coursera. So that was the platform, looking at introduction of so the light source, meaning in this case applied to the MAX4 also, but the history of light source too, the spallation source, and the different connection to CERN, so particle collider physics, and some of the wake field that we need, I mean, that can be improved and developed. But then introduction of what particle accelerator could be used for, how to build your own particle accelerator. So you need this RF system, you need the magnet technology to steer, you need the beam diagnostic to read everything, and you need the vacuum technique to make sure that you can have your particle accelerated. So this is the ingredient that the expert will present. And we had the third one, which was applied, and which shows, in that case, the medical application, so which is essential. And this is, again, some of the aspect that more than 40% of the 30,000 or 35,000 accelerators in the world are used for this, so radiotherapy and proton therapy, all the way to use different accelerator for. So there, that was also a full course. So we had, as you can see here, those little recording, and get possibility to also have different quiz and have possibility for additional material. Everything is in English, but really a lot of interesting and way to forward. So you can follow it at your pace. So there is no exam except, I mean, you can pass even if you don't answer properly all the answer. And you can have at the end as well a certificate. You just have to pay there for 80 euros. But if you don't pay, you can still follow everything. So it's really open source. And this is the possibility to share this knowledge with you. So since 2019, when we launched most of those free MOOC, we have already more than 18,700 different learners, so student learners, from more than 104 countries worldwide. So that's really an important aspect of that capacity of MOOC, massively to be able to share, to understand how to develop all of that. But that was at a bachelor level or master level, but still, when you think massively, so this is where education has to be improved everywhere already at the secondary. So if high school teachers are trained, then we can massively give as well and transfer this knowledge. So that's why just last year, so we had also from so the first one was a strategic partnership in with the European Commission grant, and we had now accelerate your teaching for teaching teacher, but teaching anyone, because same way it's for free. And this is thanks to also the Euronet, so in Belgium, the possibility of having a display which is even more, more professional and getting interaction. So we had more than 2,500 teachers connecting for this first launch in 2023. But you can still now, if you connect to that webpage, to start the new series. So it's a MOOC, so it means it will always be accessible. You will always receive the different information where you can do the different game, the different work is presented. So the idea of that specific MOOC, so accelerating your teaching, is to understand how, based on large-scale research infrastructure, the force, the magnetism, the light, all of that, how to teach it to the students or to the learner based on the basic presentation of physics. So you can find here, for example, an example. So there is a lot of interaction as well. We had, I didn't put some of the way, the teacher were really appreciating it. We had a lot of learning scenarios as well, and you can find there some of the trailer and the description. And so those scientific stories will come back with Stéphane, because he helped us there too. You had Race to Space, so you can transform yourself into a scientist and understand how to develop that. And those learning scenario, which was for the teacher, the possibility to present how they would present science as well to the different age level. So those different expertise as well from scientists were shown thanks to those little video. So thanks to the company, the production company from Stéphane, pardon, whom you will also recognize some of the actors there that we have also used for, who also produce their physics matter presentation. So those short video, 5 minutes each, are the benefits for explaining the scientific vision, but were also the possibility to present a little trailer for our physics matter. So you have, from 5 minutes to 1 hour, so the possibility to learn about those topics. I will not pass this, but this is while explaining how all those things work. So that's for you to look later on if you want. But we have been working a lot also with science in school. So thanks to the Aero Forum, it's an excellent platform, very, very intuitive, where at different age level, you can select so the age or the topic or the different keyword, the language, and you will find description of material for the teacher. Or if you are a learner, you can find information there as well. How to teach, how to understand, how to inspire. And this is also what I strongly recommend for anyone that wants to learn, curious to learn. So we did develop the 2 different chapters there. And we have 3 more to go. So with my colleague here at ESS, at the European Spallation Source. And here, we have used to support this, Accelerate Your Teaching MOOC, a lot of different animation, and I want to name here, so especially, so Susie Shelby from so Oxford University, but also working now so in Melbourne, who has been writing books that are excellent, and who has developed those little movie that we use in potential learning material that we have been using with my colleague here. So just last week, actually, and using it to interact with students, with learners, and to try to have them watching those little movies and then understand some of the questions. So it has been really interacting and ways for teacher or for possibility of better understanding. So that was in French, but how you can really attract the attention. I can tell you that everyone was watching, everyone was answering. So we had a wonderful, wonderful presentation. And this is actually there. So you can see some of those different less developed countries as well. So understanding and seeing how all of those impact can be on their future decisions. So how to understand particle accelerator in this case, but physics in general. So that was really, really important and interesting for us. So I will just finish by the idea of trying to understand, indeed, to get as well the synergy with what was presented so last month as well with those sustainable development goals, because we will have, so January we had that forum, we had last month, so from UNESCO an understanding of what this so international decade of science for sustainable development is. So we will have in June another forum where we describe a bit more with invite here those goals. So this responsibility of individuals, so again, as I mentioned before, to get engaged and doing something around this, saving the planet, as Robert Caillou was mentioning. And so from the local to the worldwide. So if you just imagine, actually, I took this from a colleague presentation, you could put more or less all the different continents in the African continent. So it's up to the scale, but the point is really to try to understand how people and environment together can really make it happen. And again, this global, this context of complexity, how everything which is the intelligence is also the emotion in one sense, and that was one of the aspects that was underlined so by Professor Joe Daly. So how can we make it all together as well? It's really like in the four core value that I took from my own institute, so with ESS, which is the excellence, the collaboration, the transparency, and the sustainability. And you can apply this at every part of your life, I would say. So, and as the song is singing, and I will, of course, not do that. So this is really like how we all together as well can make this work. So at every level, so that it can be improved. So that was what I wanted to present. So the global one, and now we'll go to the local in terms of how to adapt to the culture and how to make it effective. So thanks to Stépahne, who will then give the next presentation. So I stop sharing.
Well, Christine, are you intending to take questions at the end?
Yes, I think
Okay.
that would be better. Yeah.
Let Stépahne go first.
We have two questions, yeah. Is it okay? I hope so.
So, thanks, Alan. So, I guess everyone can see the first slide.
Yeah.
Good. So, I will go in the same line with Christine, but with the focus on Africa, because we have done some, I would call it empirical work there. So trying to apply some of the recipe that Christine mentioned during her talk. So, I mean, if we think about education or access to knowledge, like the common good of mankind, so one of the important things that one has to do to make the world a better place to be is to try to empower societies that are scientifically and technologically lagging. And then one of these societies is the African society from where I come from. And then I've been dedicated to many actions there on the field and in different countries in Africa. And there as Christine mentioned also, the anthropological aspect, I mean, of the way you address people or you want to circulate science is really important because it differs really from one country to another. So, I mean, and digital education in this respect, it's something that we could use, right, to try to empower these communities. And then there's the problem about the tool that is the key tool that we need, right, to really implement digital education. And then this tool is actually internet. Internet, if you try to look at the distribution of internet on the continent, you will see many black holes there. So by black hole, I mean many places where access to internet is either, I mean, zero or very low, right, and very unstable. And then talking about digital education, well, usually people think directly about online tools that people, I mean, need to have. And then talking about these tools, one can mention website, apps, like Christine mentioned. So there are many websites available where people can, I mean, have access to knowledge. And then the question is how to get there, right? Is it possible for people coming from, societies that are, I mean, lagging? Do they really have access to knowledge through these websites, though there are numerous websites around the world? This is one point. And then even if you go through applications, by application, I mean something that you can download and start learning. So is it free for everybody? This is another question. Even if it is free, do people always have good internet to download it? This is another one. And then talking about, I mean, ecosystems. So the normal ecosystem that people living in developing country like me or everybody here, or many people here in the room, the ecosystem that we know is about university that feed research through funding, and then the research, the result of the research that feed the industry. And then the industry feeds the economy, and then the economy kind of provoke the social progress. This is very ideal, right? It's an ideal scenario. It's working more or less well in developed country. And then when you go on the other side of the world, in developing country, I mean, ecosystems are very non-conventional. So in many countries, except South Africa or, I mean, some countries in the northern part of Africa, like Egypt, I mean, it's really difficult to see an ecosystem as Christine described. So money coming from industry to fund research in the university, and then this circular economy, and then trying to feed the economy. This is something difficult to achieve in many countries. And one of the reasons we talk about in the next slides. And then another point that is also important is the soft skills about the people who carry the knowledge. So technical tools are good, are there, they are developed anywhere in the world. They are accessible from wherever you are in the world. I mean, app or website. But then people who want to use it sometimes also need some soft skills. And the soft skills, it's something that do not exist. Soft skill training is something that does not exist in many curriculums, right, in the developing world. In many academic settings, soft skill is something that is not, I mean, relevant when for promotion or, I mean, in universities. So, and then this is why in the since some years we have been very involved in, I mean, soft skill training for people coming from the developing world with various institutions in the world. So, and then another very important point, because I've been also very active on TV and in social media. There's a big problem, right, to fight against fake news or misinformation in the digital sphere, right? So, and then when digital tools do not work, like access to internet, what are the shortcuts that one can take? So we talk about one of our experiments that we did all over the continent. So this is, I like this slide. Every time I have a talk with colleagues from all over the world, I always like to show these slides here. This is very important to me and to many other people, because if you see this distribution, many people tend to forget that there is a linear relation between how much we put into science and, I mean, the social standard of a society or the economic standard of the society. You will see that here on this slide, the US and Germany, they are more or less in the same sphere. So this is actually the distribution of the gross domestic product, how much we put into science right, per countries in the world. So, and then you will see that there is nothing coming from Africa, right? You can only see Egypt and South Africa. This is why science development or the direction of research in Africa is like a talk, right? It's more or less directed by what is done in the Maghreb and in South Africa. And sub-Saharan Africa is almost non-existing. And then another point that people have to question themselves, people, institutions like APS or ICTP is they have been giving money, I mean, investing in the developing world. So from this big blue sphere here, I mean, a lot of funding has been, I mean, directed to Africa, for example. But surprisingly, you see the no nucleation of a sphere. I mean, uh, indicating a country from sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. And then the question is, where is this effort going? Well, is it worth doing the effort to empower Africa or stuff like that? These are questions that I would like to ask to, I mean, decision makers at the ICTP level or APS level one day. But so this is the situation. However, this is the situation in Africa is lagging when it comes to science because there's an historical reason behind that. So the so-called Lagos plan 40 years ago, who could not be continued because of many problems on the continent. So I mean, the investment in science is very poor. And then this is the density, for example, on the bottom left here of scientists per million inhabitants on the continent. And you can see the difference. It's one order of magnitude smaller than the difference in than the mean average on the world. And then you on the bottom right, you will see the contribution of Africa to research in the world. It's something like it's updated maybe 2%, right? If Africans produce 1 to 2% of the research of the world, right? What is the problem? Funding is one point. The other point is access to knowledge, and then also to witness the knowledge evolution. So we have to do something. Solution should not always be exogenous, right? It can also be endogenous. Endogenous, I mean, it can be done from inside Africa. And then everybody has to do something. Scientists first, not only decision makers. So we have to drive the decision makers to push them to take the right decision. And then digital and mass education is a key component. So the one thing to do is, I mean, communicating among scientists first themselves. Who are they? What do they do? How can they be complementary? This is the question that raised not among Africans, but by people who were worried about where are the Africans in conferences. We don't see them, just few of them, some individuals. How can we know the state of physics in Africa? And then I think 5 years ago, some people, Dim Gibernatis, Kazi, Professor Shiti in South Africa, and many others, they thought about, I mean, a digital platform where African scientists could communicate. So, and then this platform is the African Physics News. It's published, edited, and hosted by the American Physical Society. Somebody may ask, why is it in America? I mean, for me, it's okay. It's already very important that APS hosts this kind of newsletter. If people want to know about journals in Africa, there was a African Review of Physics that was hosted by ICTP. And I heard recently that it was canceled. So it's not existing anymore. Just to tell you the state of affairs, right? When it comes to access to knowledge on digital platforms. So that platform for the African Review of Physics is not more existing. But however, the APN African Physics newsletter is there. And then I'm working also in this newsletter. And we are a board of editor. I mean, we are 10 according to the 5 regions of Africa, like defined by African unions. And then we also try to promote young scientists to start, I mean, the editing work, right? And then the newsletter is different, as you know. I'm talking actually to the students here. It's different from a conventional scientific journal where you have scientific result. Here is we do more or less summaries of what Africans are doing in terms of research, in terms of networking, in terms of education, and then many other things. So these are some few examples. I mean, we promote role models, like you can see here. This is a young physicist, for example, in Ivory Coast, trying to, I mean, establish the first astronomical society in a country. We also report people who venture in various parts of the continent, like Aruna in Burkina Faso, using the knowledge that he acquired in France, right, to convert sunlight into water in arid regions in Burkina Faso. We talked also about success story, about how women tried to help themselves, and then to indicate to people how this kind of success story could be built based on previous experience. So we also try to address anthropological problem, right? Like you all know, in Egypt, there's always this question about the past of Egypt and how African physicists sit in this part of the continent to address this question using physics. I mean, so in the newsletter, these are very short format of information, 2 pages paper that we circulate. And then how much do we circulate? So this is actually the distribution of the African physics newsletters in the world. So this is not be looked at like an invasion, right? It's actually countries where we have readers or subscribers to the newsletter. So we have subscribers in almost half of the countries in the world, around 90 people, 90 countries. And then we have 1,000 of subscribers, and then half of them, more than half of them, come from Africa, and then 1/4 come from the US, probably because this is where the newsletter is hosted, and I cannot explain, to be honest with you. And then what is intriguing also is that in Africa also the distribution is not that so equilibrated, right? You can see that many subscribers come from Cameroon, maybe because this is my home country, and these are, for example, in red, the country that we have not been able to reach out people, right? We made some success. We were quite successful these recent years because we were able to reach out people in countries like Chad, Gabon, Mauritius, or Somalia, where people had no clue about what was happening. For example, recently we heard that in Somalia, since the war in the 90s, so there is no physics curriculums in Somalia. So some local scientists, they are trying to rebuild the physics curriculum. So there's no bachelor degree, no master degree. So this kind of information are really important for us. And then this way we convey the state of physics education on the continent. So this is as far as the newsletter is concerned. So we really encourage young scientists to distribute, or any scientists in the world to distribute, to colleagues, the information about the existence of this newsletter. Because, for example, recently I was discussing with the editor-in-chief of the newsletter on physics and society of the APS. He was not even aware that such a newsletter was existing. So we need to spread the word again. So this is where we stand in terms of when it comes to, writing or communicating through newsletters, which is one of the conventional way some people, one would try to communicate with science. And we have some partnership with newsletters of forum like the international the Forum on International Physics of the APS. We work hand to hands. We exchange from time to time, articles or information about what is happening. So this newsletter is an international tribune that allows also to convey to the world what is happening. So I was quite happy this recent year to interact with Marilena and Christine about on sharing information through the newsletter. And then I recently also got not an agreement, but let's call it for the moment, an oral agreement with the editor of the Forum on Physics and Society of the APS. So contrary to the APN, the newsletter of the FIP is circulating more. It's more than 5K. And then you see, if you see here, the summary, for example, of the last issue, there are some keywords. So we try really to go international and to cross the borders in the world. So, and then we have some topical issue. Christine already mentioned it. So, for example, last March, we had some speakers who shared, the experience or the work they are doing in science communication and education. And we organized topical issues in the newsletter where these invited speakers also write down what they did so that it should be open to a wider audience. So this is in terms of writing, right? Another format of communication also is not only writing. There are some people who are not skilled when it comes to write. So and communication is the ability to make oneself understood by the others. And there are many ways to do it. You can write, you can sing, you can do videos. There are many types of interaction formats. And then in Europe, at the university where I'm working, we used to, to organize some master classes for public outreach, right? In the so-called Aurora Alliance, where we go in some European university and train the students, so offer them some soft skill training. So about how they can sell their research, moving from research paper, right, to a message to wider communities. And then something that I also tried to implement recently with colleagues at ICTP, Ali Hassan Ali, and then a science journalist also there, Kelsey Karun. And then for the first time, if I remember well what I was told there, it's one of the rare times ICTP thought about capacity building, not on technical skills, but on soft skills. I think this is very important for an institution like ICTP, who has been fostering research and education in the third world for 60 years. At a certain point, people have to ask questions about where are the people we train going, what are the statistics, where some people just disappear, and then why it's not changing there in Africa. And one of the main reasons is soft skill. After students are technically trained, sometimes many lack soft skill to navigate their career. And it's, for me, a real pity that there is a very low investment in this kind of training, because communication is a key ingredient to education. So, and then, talking about training the student, it's good to show them role models, right? If, for example, you can convey information via, videos or any other type of, animated digital format, there are some people that I think that are really good role models, like Phil Manning, Zoe Fisher, or Carsten. And then if you listen to these people, they are really inspiring. So they are magnetic, inspiring, and convincing. So this is a type of, this type of lecture that we should promote to students. So, and then come the last part of my talk, coming from Africa. As I told you, there is a big gap between people who take decisions, right, and the reality on the field. So there's a very low investment into science, and then one has to really, come to a social temperature and the adequate pressure on decision makers, right? That will create a phase transition in the society. And this, the driving or the other parameter could be digital education, right? And then coming to cinema, people seem to forget that physicists were the pioneers of cinema, right? Because when I joined the movie industry, people were asking me, what are you doing here? So many of us here know the story about the Broder Lumières in France. My role model, for example, is Jean-Pain Levé. He was a marine biologist who used to go and film the biology, of species in the sea, and then he was doing some big, screening in Lyon, in France, I think. And then this was, for example, the beginning of cinema with the Broder Lumières. So cinema is a way also people used to publish science, right? Or to make it accessible to the public. And then nowadays, it's very easy to reach out people because there are many websites and platforms for movies. We have to make a room for scientific movie test, because this is the way to reach out not only scientists but also decision makers, because they are all there. They are not in our scientific papers. So, and then they are where general information is lying. So we have to make a room for ourselves there. So this is actually the way we are working. And then I'm now not running a company, but at the head of a company where we are working as compilers, right? For the society. But a computer can do great things, provided that you tell to the computer what it has to do in the language that it can understand, right? So this is why usually we try also to organize, we go to scientists who usually have problems, right, in addressing or conveying the science they do to a general public, sometimes non-educated, non-scientific communities. So we organize meetings between scientists and professionals of the movie industry. This was, for example, in Ames, Cameroon. Ames is the collection of science centers for mathematics that were created by Neil Turok, the former director of Perimeter Institute in Canada. So we go to scientists with this meeting, we discuss about their science, what they do, and then we try to disseminate it using films. And then we take care about the local anthropology of people. Like in Africa, science journalism is still there. The undereducation of women, their underrepresentation is also a hot topic. So we are not only, selling science to the big public, but also addressing the mentalities. So this is how in 2019 we produced the movie Science in the City, which is actually a cinematographic series that combines cinematographic storytelling and fiction. And then here we have different characters, scientists, people animated by the spirit of journalism, and then people who don't see why science is not important, typical decision makers. So this is how we try to sell it to the public. And then just to tell you about one example. So what we do practically is that we move from papers to movies. So this is, for example, the paper of a professor in Bristol University. So he developed a technology that could with that technology you can transform human urine to electricity, and this technology is used in the student bar in Bristol, for example. And then once I was there, and then I was very impressed by this technology because salubrity is a hot topic from where I come from and from many other places, and and then this kind of topic is important for energy, biomass, and energy also is a topic, serious topic in Africa, because most of the countries have been relying on hydroelectricity, right? And the system is just went down over the years. We are looking for alternative solutions. So we talk about many things, environment, also sharp technology like CRISPR and whatsoever in this movie series. So we try to make a balance between simple topic and very advanced, sometimes even novel topic like CRISPR technology. And at the end of every series, of every episode of the movie, I come there as a scientific caution, as the reference of the paper, to talk to those who will watch it about where the technology is coming from, how we can implement it in our society. This is a way of talking to people who take decisions. So, and then we were lucky to make a room for science. This is, for example, an application. SINAF is like Netflix in Africa. And then everybody can access it. It's $2 per month. You can watch whatever you want there, right? And then we were able to make a room for this was the, I'm always annoyed when I say the first. It was, the first time I saw a scientific movie on such a platform, which is not, I'm not that proud of it, but it's a pity, right? Because we need more. We need to populate, this fair with more content about science and technology. So, and this is how we try to break the wall between science and movie on the continent, because the movie industry, this is where people, this is the largest part of the digital world where people are connected, right? This is where you will see more people, even scientists themselves. They will not follow a colloquium online, but it's very easy to go on Netflix and look for something, right? So this was a small step in the movie industry, but a very giant one for the African culture. So you can see here the type of scientific, movie giant that you can, that it's usually tragedy, comedy, or any kind of things that are not really connected to science. So, and another important question is what happened when the main ingredient for digital education is not working? Internet, because it's a common thing to have internet not working in Africa. Internet is even better. Electricity is the point. There are sometimes people in Cameroon, in Congo, or wherever, they can stay for 3 weeks without electricity. This is a normal and standard situation, right? And then what happens when they don't have access to the digital tools? A simple way is to campaign. This is what we have been doing also. We have been campaigning into countries, organizing screening and distributing the content of the educational movies into USB keys or any other material that can be used to store information. So not only in big rooms for cinema, it was also at some occasion, like in Democratic Republic of Congo, there's a big event called the Science Society event, the Week of Science and Technology of the year, where thousands of people are coming there, and then we organize trainings. And at the occasion, we also talk with scientists and discuss how we can distribute or disseminate their science. So we have been in a couple of countries invited. And as you know, funding is always the problem, right? But for me, I always think that is the practical way, right, to reach out people. So this is a part of what I'm doing, and that is connected to digital education. And I was happy today that Christine invited me and that I could talk for 15 minutes or so. So thanks for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Stéphane. Thank you very much. A good compliment. So with so that in mind and the idea that we have only 15 minutes, so looking at the digital aspect, and we have Andrea with us. Voilà, very good. So we wanted to hear a little bit more as well, Andrea, from the point of view of the Sesame. You were mentioning digital is essential as well for you. So if you can maybe add a few words as well to complement what we're discussing.
Oh yeah, sure. So what I can testify is what I have seen happening at Sesame. I arrived at Sesame exactly at the same time in which COVID arrived in the Middle East, and so going online was the only solution at that point, and we never came back from there actually. So we learned to use these tools, and we found out that a mixture of internet and reality seems to be the way in these days to proceed with training and education. So, for example, together with LAMP and the African Light Source Foundation and the ICTP and the SRF, we started a series of schools which happened, or we had already 3 schools on online, totally online. The number of applicants grew immensely through the 3 editions. So we went from 100 to 500 applicants in 3 years. The entire school is available online. You can go there, download the slides, listen to the lectures again, and this is one thing that we can do, but it is successful. It shows also the need of, I think it is the only synchrotron radiation general school which contains several topics on soft skills. So how to communicate science and history of Sesame, the science diplomacy aspect of it. So you are invited to go online and look at it. Later on, when we started the new beamlines, because one of the very good things of having this online platform is that we could, thanks to that, continue the project that had already been started. So we had in 2020, we had 2 beamlines which were under construction. Beamlines are our laboratories, our instruments, and it takes normally 3 to 4 years to develop one of these, and the work was not interrupted. We could meet online, continue the project, share the technical details, and continue without practically any problem. So there was no delay, given from the fact that all the foreseen meetings could not happen. We did not have any in-person meeting for the construction of these 2 beamlines until the very end, when we inaugurated them. And then when inaugurating, we also started a new format of training schools, which were related to the inaugurations. So we had a 2-3 days workshops dedicated to each of the beamlines, in which the general theory part, so how the technique works and what you can study with this streamline, was online with hundreds of participants, and then a much more limited number had the possibility to be on site and have a hands-on approach. So the balancing of these two tools is actually, I think, what we are going to continue to do. We have just been granted a new project from the European Union, Sandstone, and which is an acronym for. We took a bit to find it out, but in any case, it's Sesame User Network for the Future, and the idea is to have both online training and physical training with this very same asset, so schedule. So there are a couple of days of online training for everybody, and then a limited number of participants has a hands-on training. The next step will be to have these hands-on training broadcasted at the same time, so that to increase the impact. And all this project is within and the idea that Sesame, now it is a working facility now, so it took a substantial number of years to enter into to become a working facility, but it's now, and it received a lot of training in the past through different projects. So now it is the time to make of Sesame a training center, and the training center not only for the Middle East region, but for the entire global South, with a particular look at focus on Africa. And all this is embedded in this new Sandstone project, which will start on the 1st of June and go on for 3 years and a half. So there will be a lot of announcements on the Sesame website in the future on that. So please come and have a look at it.
Very good, very important as well. So we'll put the link as well to if there is a website. So we will add as well this website as well on our page. So very instructive and essential as well for the Sesame. So thanks a lot for this.
But also what we are doing here is as well is important. This series of lectures have been pivotal to focus the identity of Sesame as a research center, as a training center, as a Science for Peace center. And so thanks to APS and ICTP and IUPAP, LAMP, essentially we are all working together in the same direction, different forces, and everybody brings its own momentum to the general efforts, but definitely the effort is in the direction of a more widespread impact of science in society. Think of the decade of sustainable goals, the Science for the Sustainable Goals, which has just started, and that will make I hope a very profound impact if this idea that was presented there of regional centers of excellence, regional hubs, will succeed.
Yeah, very, very, very important. So this regional and also hub development. And as well, when you were mentioning indeed the between the I mean, hands-on aspect as well that you can as well have in broadcast. So that's excellent. So do we have additional questions? So Alan, I saw that there was indeed from so Carter Deep from India, so who completed his studies as well in veterinary science. So I guess that you have been channeling the information. So
I have. I've been sending him suggestions, and there is someone else with an anonymous moniker. Similar questions about education in Europe and elsewhere. I guess I come away from the presentations today with a thought that these are sweeping, huge programs, taking a lot of energy and funding. And Stéphane, of course, said funding is always the problem. Andrea suggested a solution. Everyone brings their own momentum. And I'm wondering, at least from the standpoint of the American Physical Society, what resources have been committed or at least competed for this kind of international educational outreach? I'm just thinking particularly from the standpoint of the Forum on International Physics. There are programs in the Innovation Fund that could help float the extreme burden, at least from one part of the community, to bring some momentum forward. But it's a big problem and highly important. How can such a thing be funded?
So that's exactly what we were thinking of, indeed, with as well Stéphane and Sirius, to try to find ways to have the support of so the forum, I mean the innovation fund provided by the APS. So indeed, the momentum, and I think that Andrea, you were mentioning as well that it was supported by the APS as well. So is it also this innovation fund? Do you know which kind of tag it was? Or is it something else?
Well, APS supported us in the satellite meetings of the March meeting. Yeah, the satellite have been extremely successful. This is another fantastic idea how to combine reality with virtual teaching and virtual gatherings. I don't know if everybody is aware of how these satellites work, but at least what we do is we collect all the audience from Jordan. We bring buses of people from all universities in Jordan to Sesame, and we together attend to the APS meeting online from Sesame. So it is a way of, instead of everybody sitting behind his own laptop, recreating an audience in a room so that discussion can come, and we still have the coffee breaks, which are one of the most important parts of any conference, where you exchange ideas, new people, and foster the proceeding of the indispensable social part of being a scientist, in which you because after all, science is shared knowledge. If you don't share, it's not science.
Fully. So indeed, so we just came back as well from the CISA, the Committee of International and Scientific Affairs, where we discussed as well for the way as well the future of those satellite meeting will be, because there is much more is growing. It's really a lot of enthusiasm. It depends on people like you still, so Andrea as well, locally to enable that, because we need a local coordinator, and then to understand from the point of view of the APS for the membership how to work it out. So I think the important part there is to try to think in terms of a sustainable manner, to engage and to make it as well for people to be able to use as well the benefit that the APS give. Indeed, are they member, all of them, of the APS, or can we see or improve this kind of membership level? Because as you said, this is essential. I really like all those satellite meetings. We did as well one where after the Ramadan, because unfortunately in April, it was at the time of the Ramadan. So we had this follow-up and same way with the students, so to enable in those local area. Now, another way for those innovation fund, a bit also on the team that Stépahne has mentioned, is to provide movie or to try to get as well their series that could, like Science in the City, or like the Big Bang Theory, or like the Hitchhiker Guide of the Universe, of the Galaxy. So to think in terms of how to make it possible. So this is where we need